Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the Three Gun Show, episode 115. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and my guest this week is Chad Francis of Generation 3 Gun and the Midwest 3 Gun series. We discuss getting juniors into the sport and what to do when their shooting video goes viral, running a points series set of matches, and the unique concept of Generation 3 Gun. But before we get into the interview, I want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. The 3 Gun Show is a weekly podcast where I bring you interviews featuring one of the many awesome personalities in 3 Gun, and we talk about gear, training, match strategy, funny stories, and just generally have a great time. If you like the show, there are multiple ways of supporting the podcast, including a new one. The 3 Gun Show logo t-shirts my buddies and I wore at SHOT Show are now for sale. Go to 3gunshow.com/merch, M-E-R-C-H, to get yours today. The ones up currently are unisex Bella Canvas shirts. Now, these are really high-quality shirts, soft material, good fit. I'm working on a lady-specific shirt, too, so that should be coming in the next couple weeks. Anyway, that's 3gunshow.com/merch to get your own. In this episode, Chad and I cover a lot of matches and shooting opportunities that you will want to get in on, so head over to the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 115 for links to each of the opportunities, and enjoy this one with Chad Francis. Chad, welcome to the 3 Gun Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to it. I feel like I finally made it when I made it on your podcast.
Well, man, I'm glad to have you. You know, I hadn't planned on bringing this up, but since you said that, the first time that you and I met, it's kind of funny because I didn't realize that we had met because we have some mutually rude friends that we were in the same place for lunch at SHOT Show, and there was so many people around. I was like,
Vegas, yep.
I think I know all these people. And then later on, I was like, oh crap, that was Chad Francis that was sitting right next to us the whole time.
Yeah, I like to keep a low profile. Yeah, not really.
Well, I felt bad later because
I do remember that though. That was at SHOT Show, what, 2 years ago?
It was last year, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the shots all blend together. I've only been to 2 of them, but I'm still trying to keep my story straight from all of them.
I'm the same way. I think I've been to 4, and they all just kind of blend in together.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I listened to the Michael Bain podcast, and he said the other day, he's like, well, I was listening to one of the podcasts of before SHOT, and he's like, well, when we go to SHOT, we're going to do a lot of it, and no one's quite sure what we do at SHOT, but we sure do a lot of it.
Yep. My wife and her friend always comes down, so it makes for a pretty good. They get to sleep all day, and I have to get up and go walk the floor, so it makes for a pretty interesting time.
Yeah, I bet. And then you found something interesting in your hotel this year at SHOT.
Good Lord, I don't know if anyone's yet realized that there are no white-tailed deer in Nevada, but I did find a freshly skinned white-tailed deer hide in a trash can on the 16th floor of the Link Hotel at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, so I saw you. I saw that like Facebook post, and I was like, okay, well, so Chad must have bailed from SHOT Show early, and then after a while, I realized no, that's still in Vegas, and yeah, there's no white-tailed deer in that part of the United States.
All right, I brought that thing into the room to show my wife and her friend that comes down there with us every year, and just because no one would believe me, I wanted to have someone have some proof that I actually found this thing, and they got so mad at me because it smelled so bad they ran out of the room. My wife ended up laying on the hallway floor for about 20 minutes till I got that thing out of there. It was pretty bad. And it was gone when I came back up about 3 hours later. It was gone out of the trash can, so I'm sure it stunk up the whole hallway.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Very bizarre.
Yeah, that is very bizarre. Well, you know, Chad, we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff related to 3 Gun here, and then we'll kind of get into why you show up to SHOT Show every year. But let's start at the beginning here and give the audience an idea of who you are off the range, who you are when you're not shooting, and then let's talk about your shooting background once we get that established.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 3 years ago, I retired from the Army. After 25 years of service, I'd been doing it since I was 17, and actually landed a really great job right off the get-go. I manage armed guards in federal buildings all over the state of Missouri. I train them in firearms and OC and baton and CPR and stuff like that. And it's a job that's not very labor intensive, so I have a lot of free time, which leads into the range that I bought and the work I do on it. But while I was in the military, I think it was about the year 2000, I started competing in the military in what they call combat matches, and just enjoyed it immensely. Mainly the camaraderie more than anything. And that kind of led into civilian matches, because we only did the military matches a couple times a year. And I found out that you could do civilian matches, damn near every weekend if you want to. So that led into USPSA pistol. And then of course that went into 3-gun, which I think I started shooting 3-gun about either 2007 or 2008. It was Blue Ridge. I picked a good one to start with, Blue Ridge Mountain. Andy Horner puts on a really good match down there, and it's brutal.
Yeah, no kidding. Good way to cut your teeth.
At some point, I realized I wasn't as good of a shooter as I was maybe putting on matches and helping run matches. So that kind of led into what I do now mainly. I still do shoot and compete because I enjoy it. But when my daughter started beating me at matches last year, I thought it was pretty much time to realize I wasn't as good as I once was.
Well, okay. So, lot to uncover there. First of all, what is a combat match?
In the military, it started, back in the day, and they still do it, but they had High Power and Bullseye was basically your military style matches, and you'd go to Camp Perry and, you'd shoot the matches there, the leg matches, to try to get, distinguished in pistol and rifle and get your President's 100. And the military saw that, that was great for basics and fundamentals, but it really didn't have much to do with what we do in the conflict that we were in at the time. So they started combat matches, and basically you're doing a lot of the same stuff, but you're wearing all your military gear, helmet, battle rattle, we call it, the web gear and boots and uniform. And we would do, we'd run 2 miles and then have to go shoot 50 yards with a pistol, or we would start at the 500-yard line and run down to the 400 shoot, run to the 300 shoot, just stuff like that. It really was a good match, but you never can completely make it realistic as you can. So
yeah. Well, so then you started shooting in 2007, starting shooting 3-gun matches with Blue Ridge. What was that first match experience like? Blue Ridge is a tough place to start.
Well, there was 4 of us that went down there, and we were all in the military. We all competed. I was actually at the time the Missouri National Guard marksmanship coordinator. I worked what's called AGR full time for the Guard. My last probably 12 years in the Army. So we all competed, and we all got into pistol matches together. And of course that led into 3-gun, and we said, yeah, we can do this. It's a tough match, whatever, but we're all, fairly well in shape. And of course you don't really know till you get down there. It was definitely eye opening, but I got to say that the people that were down there, what amazed me is just the level of help that, matter of fact, I believe the second year we went down there, Daniel Horner himself was helping one of my buddies fix his pistol till 2:00 in the morning, the Thursday night before the match. And, so it was very interesting.
Yeah. It's a common thing that we hear, right? Is the people in the sport, you come for the shooting, you come for the 3-gun, and then you stay for the people, because it becomes a community after a while.
Absolutely.
Now, is that something that you think is like intentional, because 3-gun is so intimidating and gear intensive that we intentionally try to make people stay by being so nice to them, or what?
Well, honestly, we all have a common mindset when it comes to probably a lot of things, probably politics. It's just a camaraderie, and that those are your people. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. I mean, there's always those 1 or 2 that you probably wouldn't go out and have a beer with afterwards, but you're still gonna, you still have common theme in mind. So I really enjoy it. That's probably one of my favorite things about 3-gun is just the people you meet. And it's like seeing your best buddy from high school when you see someone at a match that you only get to see maybe once or twice a year. It's, it's just like you haven't seen them for 20 years, and you're right back in the thing. So.
Yeah, I think your people is like the best way to describe it. I don't know if I've ever heard you say that, but I've been saying that for like a long time. Is like I found my people. These are my people.
Yeah.
You know, it's
That's exactly the way I feel about it.
yeah, it's pretty incredible. And you know, that reminds me when we first got a time to or got some time to actually spend getting to know each other was at the 2A Heritage Camp, and you came out of the truck and immediately, you know, you're talking with guys that you've known for years, and I started thinking about that as I was like watching the interactions and trying to figure out like who knows who and how long have they known each other and things of that nature. And one of those guys is David Power, right? And
Oh, yeah.
so he lives many, many states away from you, and you guys have known each other for years. So when you think of that, over the years that you've known each other, you've probably spent 12 days together.
Oh, yeah.
13 days.
Exactly.
And best of friends, right?
I look forward to seeing him more than I do, you know, like I said, friends from high school and stuff that I still keep in touch with. I'd rather run into David Power than my best friend from high school. I know it's kind of bad to say, but yeah, it becomes that way.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I've had a lot of windshield time in the last bunch of months, and I've put a lot of thought into that, and I wonder if part of it is like, you know, you spend the whole day, you know, toward a common good. Again, you know, like you said, it's your people, and then the interactions are brief, and so you don't have the time to have, like, you know, Uncle Steve overstayed his welcome type of thing at Thanksgiving. So
you know, that's probably very true. I mean, if you think about it, that's probably exactly what it is. You get to have the best parts of your buddies without finding out that they snore at night and, you know, put their dirty underwear all over the floor or something.
Yeah, exactly. So Chad, you mentioned that when your daughter started beating you at matches, you realized that, oh, maybe I should run some more matches instead of shooting. So how did you decide, like, hey, I'm going to get my my daughter into a 3-gun here? Because she started at a fairly young age, right?
You know, surprisingly enough, it seems like she started 10 years ago, the way the last few years have gone. But I just had a reminder pop up on Facebook yesterday, a memory, whatever they call it, that 4 years ago we did this NRA interview with the women of the NRA TV show. And that was really right after her first 3-gun match. So she's really only been shooting 3-gun for about 4 years, but it seems like a lot longer.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, so Katie started shooting 3-gun 4 years ago. What was the spark for that? Did she want to shoot? Did you want her to shoot? Was it like something you wanted to do together, or she just tagging along?
Well, when I remember when I got back I was deployed to Iraq, 03 almost to 05, and I came back and the kids were 5 and 4. My two oldest daughters. I have 3 daughters, by the way. I'm pretty sure God hates me, but anyway, so they were 5 and 4, and I have guns in the house, always have, and I figured it's probably time to start introducing them to, you know, safe gun handling and what to do and what not to do, and mom and dad aren't home, that kind of thing. Not that we left our kids at home alone at 5 and 4, but you know what I'm saying. To me, there's no early time to start. It's never too early to start talking about it. Anyways, so they both learned how to shoot, and Katie seemed to take way more of an interest in it than my middle daughter, Mason. And she would constantly, it almost got to the point of bugging me, which I hate to say that, but every 5 minutes, Dad, can we go out and shoot? Can we go out and shoot? That sort of thing. And I believe when she was 9, we started shooting some pistol matches because she just couldn't handle the shotgun. That's and funny thing, that's what she's known for, is her shotgun, but yeah. She just couldn't handle the shotgun at the time. So we shot pistol matches, and she would go hang out with me at matches. And it was funny, she used to bring a parachute cord and make parachute cord bracelets at matches and sell them. And she'd be up till 3 a.m. burning parachute cord in the hotel room. Huh. You know, but I think that when she was 12, I was going to go down and work the Benelli shotgun match down at Rockcastle, and she wanted to tag along. And it was like, well, while she's down there, she might as well help you out. And that's kind of how it got started. So she came down and shot that. That was her first match, was the Benelli shotgun match. And that was the first time she'd ever shot a shotgun, period. Was probably a week before we went down there, and just kind of morphed after that. It kind of blew up.
Yeah. Blew up. Blew up is like, to say the least there. I still see that video popping up of, excuse me, like the famous one that was on the news and everything of of her shooting. It pops up on Facebook or whatever group every now and then, and because of what I do, people send it to me a lot. And they're like, "Hey, check this out." I'm like, "Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. She's like driving in college now."
Yeah, I have people actually talk to me about that video. Have you ever seen this video of this one girl and they describe it? I'm like, yeah, that's my daughter, and they can't believe it. You know, speaking of David Power, he always jokes about he's got the most famous hand in three gun because he was holding the timer in that video. You'll hear him say that quite a bit.
Most famous hand in three gun. That's a pretty good proclamation.
Yep.
So
yeah, it kind of blew up. You know, I mean, when a video goes viral, I think a lot of that probably motivated Katie to do better because, you know, it was amazing to me that how many people saw that video and just couldn't believe that a little girl could do that. But most of them probably didn't shoot three gun because anybody that shoots three gun would see that video and go, yeah, that wasn't a bad run. You know, it wasn't the greatest run, but it wasn't a bad run. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, man, I've been standing. You know, one thing I'd like to do at matches is if I see someone that looks lost or whatever, I'll go say hi because, you know, it kind of seems like intimidating what we're doing sometimes. And maybe they want to know, like, well, why are you guys doing that? Why are you doing that? You know, so I remember shooting with, God, I can't even remember what matches was. It may have been Gen 3 gun, but I was shooting with Heather Miller, right? And so she was shooting like a rifle shotgun portion that was in front of these couple guys that I was answering some questions to. And one of them said, well, she handles that shotgun pretty well for a girl. And I was like, dude, she's kicking my butt at this match. Like, it's not for a girl. She just handles that shotgun well.
Yeah, that might have been some local buddies of mine. That you would believe the locals that come out of the woodwork for that match because they hear Jerry Mikulic's going to be there and all those people, and they just love it.
Yeah, and so it's interesting when you're in that context of people that don't know of, you know, yeah, we shoot with women all the time that can handle guns very well, and you know, it doesn't seem like a big deal to us now, but at that time, Chad, was that like a was that a big deal? That Katie was shooting?
Yeah, back when that video came out, that was at the Fallen Brethren match. Katie had just turned 13. That was only her second three gun. And at the time, it was just her and Katie Harris were the only junior female shooters on the circuit. And what I mean by that is, you know, shooting the bigger matches all over the states instead of just at the local area. So, and honestly, there weren't a lot of female shooters back then either. There was a handful. I could probably count on one, maybe two hands of even female shooters that were shooting the major circuits. So, yeah, when that came out, it was a pretty big deal. And like I said, it kind of motivated Katie to keep at it, and she's still going strong. She's in college now and still plugging away at the matches, beating her old man.
Yeah. Well, so do you ever like get mad and think like, you stole my hobby, I was better than you and now you're better than me and I'm just going to go run these matches now?
Oh, absolutely not. I hope my wife's not. Yeah, my wife can sit, she's watching me and she can hear this, but it was great because, you know, I used to run around on the weekends all the time with my buddies, and sometimes it became a sore spot, you know, with my wife, and we've been married for over 20 years. So, but anyways, I'm saying that because she's giving me a dirty look. Well, you know, when Katie started shooting with me, it became more of a family thing. My wife started coming out to some of the matches and seeing what we do and getting more interest in it. And it was great. I mean, she's like my best shooting buddy. So
that's awesome. So how did the video go viral, and then like some sort of you know, the news story and some sort of fame followed that? Like, did it start with you just like posting a video on Facebook and then people shared it, or what? Yeah,
Katie had picked up a couple sponsors right off the bat that, you know, I mean, she's a young girl, and companies want to sponsor younger females and younger kids, period, I think, because, you know, they might turn into another Daniel Horner. You never know. So we started her Facebook page, and we mainly were putting videos on there just to share with family and friends that were, you know, all the way across the states. It was a lot easier than trying to email them videos and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I bet she didn't have 100 likes on her Facebook page when that video went out. And it wasn't a matter of a month. It was going viral. And her Facebook page likes were climbing up to 10, 20,000. She's at 197,000 something now. It's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. if we would have known now what we knew then, if we would have figured out a way to copyright that video, she would probably had her college paid for.
Yeah, that's a weird thing with social media and Facebook, period, right? Because there's like Facebook doesn't pay you for any sort of content or anything, and then people jack it and put it everywhere.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. There's a lot of people that made a lot of money off her video on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. You go on there and you see all the advertisements when people, share that video, and it's not a big deal. We're not hurt over it or nothing. It's just we wish we'd have been smarter at the time. We'd have never thought that it would have went like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think like when you dig to the bottom of like a lot of viral things, like that's how it happens. Is people like, well, I didn't think it would be big.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like I said, I still have people that talk about 3-Gun and, man, you've got to see this video of this little girl and it's your daughter, and they don't believe you. And so then you got to like pull your pictures up on your phone and stuff. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So what did Katie get a big head, and was she hard to live with after that?
To this day, she doesn't quite understand what she's meant to 3-Gun. And I'd say that, I don't say that lightly, but she's brought a lot of people into 3-Gun that had never heard of it, and she still to this day is just a down-to-earth, level-headed girl. She doesn't quite understand why everybody thought that was so neat.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that she's one of your best shooting buddies. I've seen you guys interact on the range, and it's interesting because you have a different relationship than a lot of the people I see that either shoot with their kids or support their kids in shooting. And you and I have had some conversations about that before, where sometimes we'll see parents load magazines, putting them in the shooters' pouches and stuff, and going over stage plans and everything. But you're kind of hands off with Katie, and you've had 4 years to work that out. So was it sort of a gradual decline in the guidance that you gave her, or did you consciously set out from the start to say, look, she needs to make these choices on her own?
No, when she started beating me, I wasn't going to help her anymore. It was gradual. I mean, when we first started, I would watch her do something, put a half-empty mag back in her pouch, and I'd tell her not to do it. And if she didn't have all her mags loaded, I'd grab and load them for her real quick. It's part of the game. I mean, but after about a year, when she was physically able to do that stuff on her own, I kind of started backing away and letting her make mistakes, because that's the best way to learn. You make a mistake and then you learn from it, and you won't ever do it again. So she's fully, like I said, she's gotten to the point now where she walks stages better than I do. Her stage plans are better than mine are, and she actually helps me out now a little bit. So yeah,
that's got to be nice to have that family member that is a better shooter than you, or you can confer with stage plans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's. I always told Katie, when you shoot, try not to be. You don't want to be the best shooter on your squad, because you'll never get better. You always want to try to be the worst shooter on your squad, which isn't very hard for me, but it gets kind of hard for her sometimes, because you'll never learn. If you're the best person, you'll never see better stuff going on than what you're doing, and that's pretty much where we're at now. Now with some of the matches we shoot locally, we do have a lot of new shooters that shoot with us, because we're trying to get them in the sport. And so, but at the bigger matches, we always try to squad with people that are better than us. It just makes it, you learn a lot. And we're range officers. We RO the Pro-Am every year. We have since its start, and the same thing. I love ROing a stage, because you get to see every single shooter shoot that stage, and you see it 20, 30 different ways. And it's just a good learning experience. And it also, I taught her the importance of giving back to the sport. So that's one of the reasons I make her RO that every year. I don't make her, she likes it, but we RO that every year, just our way of kind of giving back to the sport a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. Chad, when did it turn into managing matches? And then I want to talk about the Generation 3-Gun match, because I feel like this is it's a very unique match in 3-Gun. It has like a really good goal. It does a lot of interesting things that you don't see from other matches. So tell me when the idea of Generation 3-Gun came about, and then how you ended up putting that into action?
Well, you got to back up a little bit. The first year that me and my three buddies started shooting three gun, like I said, we shot the Blue Ridge Mountain. We were sponsored at the time by Adams Arms, and we wanted to thank them by putting a match on for them. We had no idea what we were getting into. That fall, the Blue Ridge used to be in the springtime. That fall of that same year, the first year we started shooting three gun, we put on a major three gun match down at the Lake of the Ozarks called the Ozark Three Gun. And man, you talk about biting off more than you can chew.
Yeah,
we had
kidding.
no idea what we were doing. Sandra Orvig came down and helped us do stats, which probably saved us because we would have just been lost in the sauce for sure. But that was how I started getting into the management of matches, and we did that a couple years, and then I backed out of it and kind of went my own way. So me and Jeff Welsh, who's the co-founder of Generation 3 Gun, we're sitting at a match in Sparta, Illinois, as a shotgun match, and this has been, I guess, almost 3.5, 4 years ago. And we were discussing how much it cost us to bring our kids to a match like that, and it was basically a mortgage payment. And I realized I was fortunate because Katie had a lot of sponsors. I still was a sponsored shooter at the time, so we were pretty fortunate. But I just thought about some of these parents that go to these matches with the kids and how much it must cost them, and we just thought, man, there ought to be an organization that could do something about that. And that's where the concept of Generation 3 Gun came about.
From a little conversation. So what is the significance of Generation 3 Gun then?
You mean the name?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Jeff Welsh at the time, his dad, him, and his son, all were shooting three gun together. So you had three generations of Welshes, and that's where the name comes, Generation 3 Gun.
Oh, cool.
Obviously, a play on three gun and three generations. And on our logo, you'll see there's 4 people on there. 3 of them are the 3 generations of Welshes, and then the 4th one's Katie. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And so, what is, for folks that don't know, that just think it's a match, what is the concept of Generation 3 Gun, and what does Generation 3 Gun do?
Well, the original goal was to just start an organization, try to get donors to put money in a pot, and we would figure out a way to give that money to kids to shoot matches, whether it was entry fees, equipment, anything we could help them out with. We just wanted to be that go-to organization. And we realized very quickly that no one was just going to start throwing money our way. Excuse me. So Jeff talked me into putting this match on, and I'll be honest with you, I was retiring from the Army. I was getting ready to retire, start my own range, and I wanted to put a match on, a major match myself, just for some extra income. And he came up with this idea, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So we decided to, we did it that first year, and I don't remember exactly what we raised, but we decided we're never going to have enough money right now to just pay kids complete way. So let's focus on one thing. And we decided to give them scholarships to shoot other people's matches, basically.
Awesome.
And
so
this year will be our 4th match. So we've raised almost $40,000, I think, over the last 3 years that we've actually given away to kids.
Wow, that's incredible. So that money comes directly from match entries? Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct. Between the match entries, and then also we do raffles. Last year we did a pretty big raffle that raised almost $10,000, but we always have raffles at the actual match itself. And it's kind of funny. The first year we did those raffles, it was 2 shotguns that we had donated, and the first guy's name that got picked was John Gronin, and he immediately turned around and gave the shotgun back to the kid that pulled his name. So the second guy that won the second shotgun, he pretty much didn't have a choice but to follow suit, or he would have just probably been heckled completely out of the building. And that was Brian Buell. He's a local shooter from down here in Missouri, and so he gave that second shotgun away. And that started something that we never imagined. Now we have people donating rifles and shotguns and pistols to us to raffle at our match so they can turn around and give them to kids. It's a pretty amazing thing to see.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Never intended it to be that way. It was just a way to raise some extra money, but it's kind of turned into that.
Yeah, it's I think that goes to back what we were talking about at the beginning of the people in the shooting sports.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The best people you can imagine. I mean, and we've had, I'm not going to mention any names, but we've had individuals donate money to us anonymously that just want to, just want to feel like they're doing their part. And it's great. But, a lot of it, we kind of like not being beholden to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to how we give the money out, we actually go out and watch kids on the ranges. And believe me, there's some kids out there that are probably less deserving than others. I don't know how nicer way to put it, but when we're giving out scholarships and we've gone through our first round and we start looking back and see who we want to give a second one to, believe me, some of that comes into play. See kids out not resetting stages and back talking their parents. We watch all of that and make notes on it. I mean, at least I do. So that's another part of it. We're not just trying to give money away to kids. We're trying to have good kids. We want these kids to grow up to be good people in society. So
you're like Santa Claus.
Yeah, Secret Santa. There you go.
Yeah, making a list, checking it twice.
Yeah, I mean it's important because I always try to tell my daughter I said, be the first person on the stage and the last one off setting, because if you're not, people are going to see that and you just don't want that name. We all know there's those people at every match. And, we definitely don't want the kids to do that. If Jerry Miculek can be the hardest working guy in three gun, then a 15-year-old kid ought to be busting his hump too.
Yeah. I was just having that conversation yesterday with some friends. It's, the guy that you admire the most also just happens to be the hardest working dude when it comes to resetting. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's got to be, you probably set that precedent early, but it's got to be interesting because, Katie being one of very few females in the sport at that time, it's probably pretty noticeable if she was slacking or if she was working hard, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, she was in the spotlight from the get-go. I mean, even now she still has people that come and watch her at matches that she's never met before. They just find out she's going to a certain match and they want to come meet her. And, I tell her, you're always in the spotlight. You always have to, think about everything you do is being scrutinized. So, be the best you can be at everything, not just shooting, but resetting and talking to people and,
Don't pick your nose.
Yeah, don't pick your nose when there's cameras running. Leave that up to your old man. I'll be the clown when it needs to be done.
So Generation 3 Gun, it raises a lot of money for juniors to go shoot other matches, which is interesting. That that concept is interesting, right? Usually you want to keep it with like, oh well, you can shoot a match in Missouri that we also run, but you're like, oh no, let's just fund you to go shoot a match and enjoy the sport and get out and live it. So. But it's also a really decent match. I was very fortunate last year to get into the match at the last minute because someone wasn't able to be there, and I got to shoot the third one. So it's a really cool match, and we even had to drive through like 10 inches of mud, and my truck when I sold it still had Generation 3 Gun mud all over it. But in spite of that, in spite of like the weather challenges or anything, it was a lot of fun. And how? So I got to ask, like in a match that's like geared toward helping young people and being friendly to young people, how do you keep it challenging for, some of the top shooters in the world that are there as well?
Yeah, that's, it's funny. It's funny you brought that up because there seems to be a notion that our match is for junior shooters, and actually it's not. It's to raise money, like you said, to give to junior shooter.
Okay.
That being said, we had probably 30, 35 juniors last year that shot our match for free. We didn't figure be wise to charge them to shoot our match when we're just going to give them the money back anyways. But you're right. You want the beginner to be able to handle the stages and not get frustrated, but at the same time challenge, the seasoned shooters. And I'll tell you, it's hard. I don't have the greatest imagination in the world, and it seems like every year trying to come up with new ideas, because if you run the same match every single year, it's going to get boring and flat and dull, and people will quit coming eventually. So yeah, to me, that's the hardest part. Between that and getting sponsors is the hardest part of putting a match on. The physical labor involved is, it just is what it is. I don't mind being a strong shoulders as long as I don't have to be a strong mind all the time, if you know what I mean. But But no, me and Jeff, we just go down there and we kind of walk around and we start getting an idea in our head. We're very fortunate. The property that we use, we start setting up way earlier than most matches do. So we have a lot of time to tweak things. And, a lot of places that don't own their own range, they end up, having to set up a week out, and it's not a lot of time to tweak things. So we're very fortunate down there where we do this match. We'll start set up around probably May time frame, and we've got all the time in the world to tweak it and change the stages and make it safer and more challenging, but easy for the newcomers too. Right. But it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe like the the longest shot was like 360 yards on a particularly challenging rifle stage, because there was, I want to say like 10 or 12 targets before that or something.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so there was attainable targets all the way out to 360. So it kind of got progressively more difficult the farther you go out. So I think that is probably that rifle stage is probably a pretty good example of like metering it for new people and then for experienced people as well.
Right. And that was a stage that Josh Loganville and his dad put up. They put up 2 stages our match every year. We actually brought Josh on board Generation 3 Gun this year as a board member, along with myself and Jeff. Obviously, Jesse Tischhauser were the 3 co-founders, and then we brought Josh and Sandra Orvig on board this year to help us out. But Josh is very, very good at putting on. When he showed me that stage, I said, there's no way people are going to time out. This is going to be a bad stage. And he said, just trust me. And I did. And I mean, it was one of the best stages on that match, I thought. So I'm diming myself out here, but he's definitely got a better imagination than I do.
Well, if one of my professors in college once said, like, if you can't be good, hire people that are good.
There you go. That's exactly right. I say the same thing about most of our politicians.
Yeah, exactly.
Surround yourself with smart people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that stage was a lot of fun too. For me at the time that I shot it, it was like the first stage we shot in the morning, and because there was so much moisture and it was so hot at the time, there was like this low hanging fog, and you had some targets that lit up with red lights when you hit them. And so
the strobes,
Yeah, so the strobes like bouncing off of the low hanging fog made like the entire valley like light up in red. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, welcome to Missouri in September. It seems like even back when we were doing the Ozark match, we had some really rainy matches, and I mean it's challenging when you're on an unimproved property like that the roads aren't the greatest, and amazingly enough we got through it. This was probably the worst I've ever seen with this year.
Yeah, there was a ton of rain. So, I guess I missed the fun. Let's see, 2015, where you had like a stage float away out of the pond. For people that don't know, you've got targets like out on like a dock that's anchored to. It's anchored underwater, right? So it's anchored to the earth underwater, so it doesn't float away, and it's the same presentation for everyone. But it's out in the middle of a pond. And you're shooting steel targets out in the middle of a pond.
Yeah, we call that our signature stage. You know how every golf course has a signature hole? That's our signature stage. And the first year, everybody just absolutely loved it. And then the second year, we fought the first day for hours trying to keep the targets from floating away because we had strong winds. And we finally ended up just having to give up on the stage and throwing it out, which really sucked. But the cool thing about it was we let everybody go shoot it for fun while they were waiting for their next stage right there. So there was a lot of guys out there that, played with it. This year we had it nailed down. We were ready for anything. We had so many anchors and cables holding that stuff down. It was ridiculous. So we learn every year.
Nice. So is that, so for the 2017 match, is that going to make a reappearance?
Oh, absolutely. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do till we get down there, but we've tossed a lot of different things around. People love shooting floating targets, and they love to see the water splash up in the air. And so, we can only do so much with the docks and stuff we have, but we're definitely gonna keep it interesting.
Yeah, the ones that you had this year, or excuse me, in 2016, were full size IPSCs with slugs, and 45 yards, something like that.
Yeah, they were close. I'm one of those guys. I don't like I don't like shooting slugs at 100 yards because if I've got a rifle, there's no way I'm shooting slugs at a guy.
Yeah.
If you want to keep it practical, but I like them to be fun targets. Again, the really good shooters hose through those things like they were shooting a pistol plate rack, and the newer shooters, they had to take their time and aim and stuff. So there's that challenge for everybody thing.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is those were, they're close-ish. They're 40 yards. Those are easily attainable with slugs. And it was fast because it was like ding, ding, ding. And I was shooting the stage opposite of Jerry Mitchellek when he was up there. And we're back in the trees, couldn't see anything, but we just heard the-ting, 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 and just really super fast. And I believe it was Lance Dingler was like, well, Jerry just shot the slugs.
Yeah, Katie was shooting with him, so I actually got to watch him shoot that stage, and it was absolutely ridiculous how fast he went through those slugs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no one could believe it. It was amazing.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible. So that's a really fun stage. It's a cool thing. But then you guys do events at night and a lot of stuff for socialization, interaction among the shooters and the juniors as well.
Yeah, we I believe last year we did I'm going to say beanbag toss tournament because nobody likes the term cornhole, but we had a beanbag toss tournament at night, and we gave money away to the winning team, and of course we kept some of the money for Generation 3 Gun, and we always try to find a place to do the match hotel where everybody can hang out at night together. That's one of the reasons I love going down to Rock Castle so much, because the atmosphere at night with everyone right there in one location. And it's a lot of fun. And, like I said, again, you get to go around and talk to people you haven't seen for the year, and there they are at your match. And of course, everybody's telling you what a great time they had, and that's always fun too. But it's just that big community,
Yeah, it was a good time. Mark Roth and I got our butts handed to us by a couple of the younger Jurassics. I think Ben.
Yep,
and
Daniel and Ben. Or no, yeah, no, I know who you're talking about. They're younger brothers, I think.
Yeah, Ben and I forgot what the other younger one, but super competitive dudes. In a game that had no bearing on anything.
That's serious business, man. Yeah. That is serious business when you play cornhole. We were doing it at the 2A Heritage Camp.
Yeah.
We did it at the Pro-Am last year. We had a tournament, so yeah, it's fun. We enjoy it.
Yeah, well, Chad, you said you started setting up in May, and this year the match is September 8th through the 10th, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
So when does registration open for that if people are interested in checking it out?
March 6th, I believe, 8 o'clock Central Time, 8 or 8:30 Central Time.
And that's PM.
Maybe it's 6:30. Hold on, let me think about that. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, it's March 6th. We've got it on our Facebook page. And last year the match sold out in about 23 minutes. I'm going to assume this year it's going to be sold out a lot quicker than that. So
wow,
get on there. And now I will tell people don't get disheartened that it sells out very quick, because every match every year has no shows and people drop out. So at least get signed up, get on that waiting list. I think we've almost cleared the waiting list every year except for last year. We just had way too many people sign up. So we'll try it. We'll do anything we can to get you in the match. We even let people shoot with the ROs if they want to come down. So
awesome. Well, so the registration opens Monday, March 6th. Match is September 8th through the 10th. And generation3gun.com, right?
That's right, generation3gun.com. And also on Facebook, we've got two separate pages, one for the organization and one for the match itself. That's Generation 3 Gun Championship is the match page.
Cool. Well, I will include links to those in the show notes so people can check them out. And if you listen to this real time, you've got a couple days, so don't delay. Chad, another thing I wanted to talk to you about is you mentioned at the beginning of our talk that you said My Range. So you actually purchased a piece of land with the intent to create a range. Yeah,
that's always been one of my, dreams, I guess, if you will, is to have some land, not necessarily for a range, but I'm an avid hunter, and I like the outdoors. So having your own land's kind of a neat thing. And I found this piece of property with some help. I won't mention any names, but he'll be listening. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is perfect layout for a shooting range. Just the way, 100 acres, you can't do a lot on 100 acres, but it was laid out perfect with hills behind it. So yeah, I bought this 3 years ago when I retired from the Army, and Just got it complete and opened up last year in March. So we've had it open almost a year now.
You know, I saw a couple pictures. I want to say it was months and months ago of, you know, you working on a range and stuff like that. And for some reason in my mind, you know, because Missouri looks the same for a guy that's not from there, right? For some reason in my mind, I was thinking that was the range from the Ozarks, you know, that you were using for Gen 3 gun. So this is a completely different range. Gadsden, right? Gadsden Range?
Gadsden Shooting Center.
That is so cool, man. And you just picked up this sweet big sign, which has a coiled snake, which is the most ironic sign in the world.
For me, yes, it is. Everybody who knows me, if you watch Facebook, you'll see I get tagged in every single snake video and picture out there. Sometimes I even tag myself just to save everybody the trouble. Yeah.
Which is hilarious because I don't know. I've never seen you around a snake or anything like that, but I understand there's some sort of problem there.
I have a bit of a phobia. There's a reason you've never seen me around a snake. I'll never be around an area where there's a snake. I can run. You saw me run against my daughter last year at the war sport match.
That's
I can
true.
move when I need to.
That's true. Yeah, and some would argue almost faster.
That we still haven't figured that out, but yeah. No, I grew up in Missouri and I used to hunt for golf balls at a golf course, and this pond I used to go in was just infested with water moccasins. And I'd go in there and I'd step on them and they'd swim by me, and I never thought anything about it. And my uncle watched me one day and he goes, "I can't believe that you can get in there with all those poisonous snakes." And I made some flippant comment. I think I was like 10 years old, some flippant comment about, well, they can't bite me underwater, they'll drown. And back then we had encyclopedias and we didn't have the internet, but he opened up an encyclopedia and showed me specifically where water moccasins can bite you underwater, and something in my brain just snapped. And that was it. That was it for me. I was done with snakes forever. I see a video of a snake and the hair on the back of my neck stands up.
Oh, man. Well, I'm sure people will stop giving you a hard time after hearing this podcast.
Please. Last year, now I will tell you this, 2 years ago at the Pro-Am, Gary Wellborn or Joe Harris, I can't remember who, killed a rattlesnake out there, and they brought it to me, and they actually made me hold this dead rattlesnake and take a picture. And if you could see that picture, you would just see the absolute terror on my face, and it was like I was holding up a stinky pair of underwear. It was bad. It was bad.
All right. Well, we won't torture you anymore, but let's get back to the range. So, what is the concept, the vision for this range that you've built?
Well, I was always trying to think of what I wanted to do when I retired from the Army, and everyone's dream is always do something you love, and I loved the Army for the 25 years I was in it. So, what a better thing to do than to run a range? Not knowing anything about anything, it seemed like a great idea. Now, it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. And I've learned that it's just like 3-gun. It's a very expensive hobby that I've gotten myself into. There's a lot of work that's gone into it, money and physically. But, the goal is always to have members come out and be able to enjoy the range and then run, 3-gun matches out there, maybe even some PRS style matches. I do have a 1,000-yard and a 600-yard range there. So eventually, yeah, I'd love to just go down there full time and run matches and let people come out and shoot. But realistically, I still have a full-time job, and that's my hobby right now. So.
But you are currently running some matches there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We myself and Josh Loganville have started the Midwest 3-gun series that we'll talk about in a second. I'm actually doing a shotgun match there the first weekend of May. I believe it's the 5th and 6th. It's a 2-day shotgun match, shotgun only. We're going to do about 12 to 14 stages. Sign-ups open for that on Practice Score right now, but it's just it's a way to help the range pay for itself, and not where I'm not hemorrhaging money out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, again, I just love watching people come out and shoot. And I take a really big satisfaction. Sometimes I go out there to the range when people are shooting, and I just park my truck out in the field and listen to the steel ring on that 1,000-yard range. And I get a big kick out of the fact that, I built that with my own hands, and people are enjoying it, enjoying our Second Amendment rights. So that's what it's all about.
Hell yeah, man. What a cool feeling to know that, you provided that sort of venue for people to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just, it's fun. And, I get calls all the time. Hey man, the range looks great. To me, it looks compared to some of the ranges I've been to, it looks pretty bad. But the guys that are members out there just absolutely love it. So that's the important thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like from what I haven't been to your range, but I feel from like the pictures that you've shown and everything, like you are way overbuilding everything. Like the shooting positions and stuff like that look like they could survive a hurricane, and it's so I can understand why your members would think that.
Well, I have brother-in-laws that are industrial sheet metal workers, so everything we do out there metal-wise is like able to drive a tank on it. Our shooting platform at the 1,000, you could probably park a tank on it and not even make it creak. So that's part of it.
Nice. It's good to know good people.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. My brother-in-laws are the ones that built that sign. My wife bought me that for a Christmas present, surprised me with it, and they built it. And it's pretty epic sign. It's like 8-foot tall letters and 20-foot wide. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it is quite the sign. Well, so you've got a shotgun match going, and you're running part of the Midwest 3-Gun Series. So tell me about the Midwest 3-Gun Series, because this is an interesting concept that you guys are working out.
Well, it's not an original concept. I mean, Indiana's had a multi-gun series for years, and theirs is probably the model to. They've had theirs running for years, and they've got several ranges involved. But when I built my range, I talked to the Logan Bills because they already had a 3-gun match, a monthly match going. I didn't want to step on their toes, so we worked out, when was the best weekend to do mine versus theirs. And then we talked about doing kind of just a point series. And they have a background in racing, in motorcycle racing, so they're very familiar with purses and point standings and things like that. They're pretty much ramrodding the admin of this thing, but we wanted to. They put a big match on in Missouri in March, and of course we put Generation 3-Gun on, and we didn't want to go out and try to double tap sponsors, so we just decided we're just going to do cash payouts at the end of the year. And of course there's always going to be people that aren't going to get anything out of it, but amazingly enough, when people heard we were starting that, we started getting sponsors reach out to us. Armalite was the first one. They wanted to get some guns in the hands of some people that might not have the proper equipment to, be very competitive. Now, we always tell people, run what you brung. You don't have to have the best gear. You'll figure out what you need later. But so they decided to send us a couple rifles, and Vortex sent us a couple scopes, and these rifles are available for people when they come out to shoot the match. And the idea, again, is to get that good equipment into the hands of new shooters that may not have it. Now that morphed into Warren scope mounts, and Tacom sent us a bunch of caddies, and Blackhawk sent us a bunch of holsters, and Weber Tactical is going to be sending us some stuff. And what we're going to do at the end of the year, everybody that didn't win any cash is going to get blind drawn for all of these prizes. So it's turned into a little bit bigger than what we wanted, and that's a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's cool to get that kind of support. I'm very much the run what you brung guy, and then upgrade as you need to go.
Exactly.
But I've found when you do make those upgrades and you have decent gear, the game turns from a whole lot of fun to a whole lot more fun, because it's way more enjoyable when your gear works during the entire match.
Yeah, we had our first Midwest Series match a couple weekends ago, and man, it was February in Missouri, and it was 70 degrees, unbelievable weather we had, and the max we can hold on the range is 75, and we had, I think, 69 shooters show up, which is amazing. Normally for our monthly matches we'll pull maybe 30 shooters. So, but we had a guy on our squad that had an 870 pump that held 5 rounds, and it was just killing him. So we loaned him Katie's shotgun, her Benelli M2, and you could just tell it just made the day much more enjoyable for that guy. So that's the whole point. We're trying to get this stuff into the hands of new shooters that are actually going to use it, and spend their money with these sponsors, which is the goal, obviously.
Right. I mean, that's the goal of any sponsorship, right? Is to
support those that support the sport. I'm big on that.
Well, it's cool. So with the series, then, the popularity of the matches goes up, right? Because now there's like a goal in mind for the end.
Absolutely. So we're doing 8 matches, 4 of them at my range and 4 of them at Logan Bill's range, the Lead Farm range.
Huh.
And you have to shoot 2 at each range. That way we're obviously wanting to get people out to our ranges as well. And then at the end, we're going to have a big finale match in October, basically, where anybody that is a member of the series gets automatically into the match, and then at the end we're going to open it up to anybody else that wants to come shoot it. Of course, anybody else that wants to come shoot it, it's going to be a pretty low entry fee match, and there's not going to be any prizes for anybody except for those that are in the series. Now, maybe next year, if it gets bigger, we may end up having a regular prize table with that match, like any other match. But again, neither one of us wanted to take away from sponsorships for our big matches that we run.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's cool to have the different flavor too, right? Because there's not a lot of like cash matches out there, right?
Yeah, and you talk about different flavor. It's kind of funny you said that. Loganville's run completely different stages than I run, and so these people will get a different flavor when they come to both matches. And then at the end of the year, when we do our big match, they're going to design 4 stages, and I'm going to design 4 stages. So it's interesting to see different match directors' creativity and how they put stages on. And I think it's going to make that final match really interesting. You're going to have a really big mix of stages. So,
yeah, I love that concept too of like working together for a greater good, right? The sum is more, or what is the whole is more than the sum of its parts?
The sum's more than the parts, or something like that. The whole is more. I don't know.
Something like that.
The sum of the whole is better than the parts. Is that it?
There you go. Well, so I used to work with a bunch of engineers, and it got to be where I could look at a print and figure out who drew it instead of like looking at the title block, right? People just have like their own style and their own sort of way of doing things. And it's cool to mix up, different styles of stage planning and things like that in the same match, in the same series. So you get all that sort of variety, right? Because back when I was shooting a lot in Colorado, every local match you went to was completely different than the other one. They all ran like on a relatively common set of rules, but just the way the bays are laid out, the way the guys like to use their steel, where they like to place their paper targets and stuff like that. So that variety makes you a better, more well-rounded shooter, and is also a lot more fun.
Oh yeah, I tell you, that's one of the things I love about 3-gun. Back when we started, there was maybe 6 matches out there, major matches, 6 or 7 major matches, and now just about any weekend you can find one.
Yeah,
you can find one, and like I said, they're all different. They have different scoring. They have different ideas of how to lay matches out. Some of them are bays, some of them are natural terrain. It's great.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, as a consumer, you can choose what you want to go spend your money on, and if it fits your style, then you continue to go to that. If it doesn't fit your style, then you find something else. So it's cool to have like all those options available.
Yeah, it's funny, back in the day, we used to, all the major match directors would talk amongst themselves and, hey, when are you going to do your match? I want to make sure I don't step on your toes. You can't even hardly do that anymore. You just you set your match up, and if it happens to fall in someone else's match, oh well, that's just the way it is. It's hard to find free weekends when something isn't going on somewhere else.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, luckily now there's a larger pot of shooters to draw from as well, right? So
exactly.
So you can fill 2 major matches on the same weekend in different parts of the country.
Yep, that's the beauty of it. And there's a lot less travel. We travel a lot less than we used to because there's so many matches closer to us now. We used to drive 14, 15 hours for matches, and now we can stay within 8, 9 hours and still go to good quality matches.
Yeah. When I was looking for places to hang out for the winter, because it's a little bit cold in Colorado and we have kind of an off season.
Right.
I was looking at Texas, because Texas, like the first 5 matches I'm going to of the year are in Texas.
Yeah, they got beautiful weather down there.
Oh yeah, well, and as more I start looking into it, is like you could shoot almost your entire year and not leave the state of Texas. And when you figure like how big Texas is, you can kind of correlate that to a lot of different parts of the country as well, because there's like hot spots within, like you said, within a few hours of each other of all these matches. When you talk about like the Indiana Multi-Gun Series, when you talk about like your Midwest 3-Gun Series. It's really a great time to be a shooter for sure.
Yeah, that, and that's one of the things here in Missouri that we like. We used to have the FN/CMMG match, and that kind of went defunct, and so Loganville's jumped right in and started up their match. And of course, the Ozark match went defunct, so we jumped right in and started Gen 3. And now with the series going on, we're actually focusing a lot more on the local stuff here with our shooting. I think we're only going out of state maybe 3 times this year for big shooting matches, so that's a good thing for us too.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially when you're trying to run your own series, right? Because then you can stay closer to home and everything.
Yeah, it seemed like as soon as one match is done, you're already planning and prepping for the next one. It's a lot of work, but like I said, it's rewarding when you see people out there enjoying the fruits of your labor, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, it got to be at the end of the year. I didn't even bother cleaning guns between matches because they hadn't cooled down before I had to shoot the next match.
Oh, exactly. I think we do massive cleaning at the end of the year, and between that, it's just pretty much lube them down real good.
Yeah, exactly. Add more lube, maybe to the outside if it's raining, and get back
Clean
on
the
range.
rust off and make sure it shoots. That's the main thing.
Well, Chad, so you've got a ton of stuff going on this year with your new series, with Generation 3 Gun and stuff like that. What do you see as like the future of the sport? Where do you think 3 Gun is headed?
Well, it's the last few years, it's been the fastest growing sport in the shooting community for sure by far. And you can think 3 Gun Nation has a lot to do with that. Obviously the old school outlaw matches that have been around forever have a lot to do with that. And then of course, a lot of the newer stuff that's coming up with the local series and stuff like that. I'd like to see it keep going. I know PRS's matches are up and coming, and you got a lot of 3 gunners that are starting to get into that. They're probably one of the faster growing sports right now out there for shooting. So, I always say there's room for everybody at the table. It doesn't matter if you're shooting USPSA, IDPA, Outlaw 3 Gun Nation, PRS. It's all a common goal for everybody. Have fun, have the camaraderie, and just enjoy shooting.
Yeah, I like to make fun of IDPA mostly because I've never shot it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Me too.
At least they're getting out and shooting, right?
That's what I say. That's the one thing I will say about it. I've never shot an IDPA match. It's kind of the joke of the 3 gun world, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that really enjoy it, and they're out there shooting, and they're actually probably learning something more than just going to a dump and shooting beer bottles. So it's all good.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah. Not that that's not fun. That was one of my favorite pastimes growing up, was shooting beer bottles in a dump with my uncle. So,
yeah, actually, it kind of sounds like a good time.
He actually tried to talk me into digging a big pit at my range and filling it with trash just so we could do the same thing. And I said, I don't think so. That's not going to work out very good out there. But
interesting business concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring your own beer bottles.
Yep, that's it.
Well, Chad, if you have like some advice for people that are thinking of shooting one of your matches, or maybe getting their youngins starting into 3 gun, what kind of advice can you give there?
Yeah, I mean, just like we talked about, run what you bring. People contact a lot of times Katie on Facebook and ask her, this is what I've got. What should I do to upgrade my gear? And a lot of people, they want to get really good before they ever go shoot a match, and that doesn't work that way. You can practice all you want, and you're never going to know what you don't know until you go to a match. So take what you've got out there, shoot it. You'll know really quick what you need to upgrade, and there's always going to be people there that are willing to loan you gear to make your experience better. Even me, when I go out, I'm pretty set on what I like and what I don't like. I still have shooters trying to talk me into, you ought to try this out. You ought to try this out. So that's a great thing. And it's good for sponsors too. We want to get all that gear out there so the sponsors stay involved with the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, at the end of the day, I hate to say this, at the end of the day, there's matches that some people won't go to if they don't have a good enough prize table. I quit shooting for prize table years ago. I shoot now because I'm not as good as I once was, but I shoot purely for the love of the sport now. I could care less. I'd pay $300 to go shoot a good match without a prize table. I really would. But there's still that need and want for good prize tables out here. So we got to keep the sponsors happy.
Yeah, for sure. And provide them those eyeballs and the good exposure and all that. Well, Chad, so on the subject of getting young ones into the sport, how do you introduce them, and then how do you maybe take them to their first match and make it enjoyable so they want to come back and do more?
Yeah, I always tell people, the first thing is obviously learning the safety and the gun handling. You've got to have that down before you go to your first match, because you don't want your first match experience to be a DQ for something that you did that wasn't very smart. So get them used to handling them, and then just go to a local range. I mean, you don't have to start at a big match. Go to a local range where there's 30, 40 shooters that show up, and they'll bend over backwards to help out where they need, and they'll take kids under their wings. I mean, I've seen it 100 times where a new kid comes out and they've got 20 new range dads out there trying to help them out. So best thing to do is just get out there and do it.
Yeah, I hear that. And, sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming, I bet, because so many people want to help out that now you're listening to like 17 people's advice, and you have 4 shotguns to choose from, and et cetera.
That's true. And, even today, Katie gets that, where she'll have people come up and say, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. And she'll always come back to me and say, okay, Dad, this is what I heard, and this is what I'm going to do, and that's fine too. I mean, everybody wants to be helpful. Everybody wants to feel like they're part of the solution. So some advice is good, some advice is bad. You just got to be able to weed out the good from the bad. But if it's a new shooter, generally no one's going to steer them wrong. I've always said that's one of the best things I like about this sport. This is one of the few sports where you can go to a competition and someone will tell you how to beat them.
Yeah. And
enjoy watching you do it if you can pull it off. So that's one of the biggest things I love about this sport.
Yeah, it's cool in that respect because, I've seen, I've experienced like a USPSA match where someone gave like some really poor advice on a stage plan, and I thought, that can't be right, and then later on I realized it was total BS and trying to mislead me.
Right.
And I told the same story yesterday, in fact, but it's like, hey man, I'm unclassified. Like, what do you expect me to pull away from your masterclass performance here?
Yep.
And
you don't see that in 3-gun. At least I never have personally.
Exactly. I never have as well. And I think 3-gunners understand that, cream is going to rise to the top.
Yep. I mean, we fight like cats and dogs in 3-gun. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you go look at any post Jesse puts out there to get the pot stirred. But it's to me, it's a common end goal. We want to make the sport better. We want to get new shooters involved, so the discussion's good. It's better to discuss it on, I guess, Facebook than fight about it actually at the matches. So
yeah, for sure. And I don't see a lot of fighting in matches.
No, you'll hardly ever see that. And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I mean, as a match director and a range master, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on that isn't the best in the best light of the sport. But far and beyond that, everybody's very respectful of everybody. They usually treat the range officers well, and and we're all competitive. There's a lot of A-type personalities, and people get heated up, but most people have learned to just control it. Walk off, blow the steam off in your truck, come back ready to set steel. So
yeah. Well, Chad, we've covered a lot of topics here, and I'm going to include links to everything that you talked about, all the cool stuff that's going on at your ranges, the Logan Bills, the Lake of the Ozarks in our show notes at 3gunshow.com. If you can give the audience just one parting thought for something that they can do to make the sport better, what would it be?
Well, this is a volunteer sport. It always has been. When you go out to the match, if they ask for people to show up early to help set up or stay late to help break down, just jump out there. You'll be remembered, believe me. The guys that jump in their car and get out of there without saying a word, they're remembered too. And now not everybody can do that. People have lives and they have things going on, but just try to be helpful and volunteer wherever you can. Again, that's why I said, I make Katie RO the Pro-Am every year just to give back to the sport. It's our little way of doing it. If everybody did that at one match, we'd have more ROs than we knew what to do with. So that's my biggest thing. Just, give back to the sport whenever you can, or else it's going to go away.
Yeah, that's a good final thought, Chad. Chad, this has been a ton of fun, man. I really enjoyed getting to know you over the last year, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with the Three Gun Show audience, because I think it's kind of a cool one, and it's something we can all look forward to hearing out on the range when we see it. Thanks, man.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate it.
Again, check out the show notes at threegunshow.com/episode 115 for podcast support links, including to the new t-shirts available for sale, and for links to everything that Chad and I talked about in this interview. As always, thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.